And we are live with Shannon from
Hello,
that tile chick.
that's me.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you for rushing home and getting on the podcast with me.
and that's not an irregular thing for me. It's like when I have something planned, I'm like running all day long every day. So it's like
Yeah,
I imagine it's the same for you.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you're one of the people that are doing as much as I'm doing all the time. It looks like you got the YouTube and the business and
Yeah.
at home life, gym goer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I feel like sometimes I'm not doing enough. And then Chris just looks over at me and he's like, you're kidding, right? Like you're really kidding me.
My cousin does that because I have those moments too where I'm like relaxing once a month and I'm like, man, I could probably be doing something. And he's like,
I'm lazy. Yeah.
you need a girlfriend to tell you to settle down.
Oh boy.
Chris
That's
is a gorilla. That he's a large man.
Yes. No, he is. Like right now, he is at jujitsu and he's gonna come home and he's gonna look like he got ran over by a car.
Oh
Every
yeah.
time he comes home, he's just like he just started, so like he has good days and bad days, because
Mhm.
obviously he's new.
Yep.
And he likes to punish himself and partner up with somebody who's been doing it like 5+ years.
Yeah.
So and they'll be like guys who are smaller than him, and they're just flinging him around. And he's like, man, like he's not a small guy. So like I can imagine that when someone's just flinging you around and you're that size, it's just very humbling, very fast.
Yeah. So when I took this contract work on, I was like, okay, we're going to settle down with the rest of it and I'm going to have to fill my life with stuff. So I dove right back into the gym. And one of the things I started doing was jujitsu. And I'm like a foot and a half taller, it feels like, than everybody else. And I got about 100 pounds on them all. But the warm up had me dead.
Yeah.
And then you're doing these like you're not rolling yet, you're just doing these like little techniques of like, and then put your arm here and flip your weight and then you're on top and this and that. But when you start rolling, it's very humbling when these like what seem like very tiny people are
Yeah.
just all over you.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're very cool. Oh, so you got an office space, is that what I saw?
Yeah, that's what we did today.
Yeah.
What we want to do, our goals are to really buy another property to renovate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's like the real estate market, it was like a roller coaster the last couple of months. So we were looking and we put in offers, but like it's so annoying. Like we would put in an offer, a house would be sitting there for like 30 days, when the market was like on fire. We're like, oh wow, that's a long time. But
Yeah.
like somehow every time we put in an offer, someone else beat us just now. Like meanwhile, the house has been sitting for 30 days. It's just that's what we kept encountering. And we're like, we couldn't really find anything. And we're like, we don't want to force ourselves into something that isn't the numbers aren't going to work. So our other option, we're like, well, why don't we rent out a spot so we can like film our long form content? Because the problem is where content creation and being a contractor mesh, or they coincide and they don't mesh at all, is
Mm-hmm.
when you get a job and it's like, okay, well, we need it done this time between this time frame or however. But like when you try to film content and like that is today, all we did was bring tools to the unit, plan a little bit, get some materials. We literally only got the materials to build the stage part.
Yeah.
And that took us the entire day, because we had to film a YouTube video. It was
Yep.
like, we couldn't even open the bay door yet. We had to like run inside, set up the camera. Then we're like, okay, now let's turn the light on, open the bay door. It's like, and my dad was with us and he's just like, all right, let me open the door. We're like, no, hold on, wait a
Stop,
second.
stop, stop. Yeah.
So it's like, it makes sense for us to have something that we can continually film content on.
Yeah.
as opposed to like filming content on a job site where it's not always conducive. It's not always fair to the client. It's not always, doesn't always work the way we want that to happen. And we don't want one to suffer, kind of, if we're doing one thing, the other one suffers. If I
Exactly.
don't want that to happen. So because I'm one of those people that I just blame everything on myself, like, oh, well, you know what?
Totally.
Beyonce has 24 hours in the day, and so do I. So I should be able to do all of this. Meanwhile, she's got like a team of people. It's just me and Chris.
Yeah, right. He's your team of people. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That was the hardest thing, ramping in last year. Well, I guess 2 years ago, like when I started the company, was I started getting all this excellent content, and you're like, this is the Instagram is booming right now. But you sit back and you're like, I could be doubling my work if I just work. So I picked up a tripod and I started doing that on this year, and it's a little bit better. You do a lot of the stuff outside of site, so I totally understand where you're coming from. Like you're gonna have like a setup, so when you want to talk about like whatever you're talking about, it's you can do that here, and you can get like content video wise at work, even if you're gonna do that. Yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
you
It just
seem to.
takes a lot of planning.
Yes, yeah. But when you're gonna be that organized, like you have to be that organized. It's like juggling chainsaws, right? You gotta catch and throw.
No, you do. You really do.
Yeah.
It's a lot, like, because it's not just like planning the job. Then you're like, okay, well, we're doing this, we're moving the drain, or we're extending the shower, we're doing this tile. And now you start thinking like, okay, well, what videos can I do? And if
Mhm.
so, because content has become such a big part of our business, um, it's like, because now our clients aren't just paying customers, like our clients are brands. So we've worked with Home Depot and we've worked with Lowe's, and it's like now you have Lowe's saying like, okay, well, you need this timeline, and it's like, or we need this project, or we need this tool highlighted, and it's like, well, how are we going to do that? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's where it doesn't mesh anymore, where we have to turn down clients like Lowe's essentially if we can't give them what they need. And it's like, that's kind of
That
stupid,
it's
so
gotta
that's
be
why
tough.
we're investing in this now, so that we have the ability and the autonomy to be able to do that. And it's like, okay, yeah, you want to send us this saw, we're going to test it out, we don't have to worry about being on the job site or going out to our dingy driveway
Yeah.
and filming the video. It could be a good quality video where like Lowe's looks at it and they're like, wow, I want to work with them again. And how many people can say like, oh wow, like Lowe's is my client,
I
like that's cool, right? So like they're literally paying you to do that video, to use this tool, or to build this thing. It only makes sense to do that.
totally. Yeah, it's when I started doing stuff for Columbia like that, and it was like, we're gonna give you something every month and we want you to use it, but then we kind of want your input on it. At the beginning, I was making those videos on site, and you're like, this is not the place to be doing that at all, right? So now I'll either do it in the garage in front of all of my tools, or I'll do it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but having a space would be ideal. I would love that. Yeah. So are you doing any sort of like back and forth content with people, or is it just still like strictly videos? Like do you know
What
what
do
I
you
mean by that?
mean?
Like are you going live, or are you like doing question and answer stuff?
I haven't really been,
Yeah.
like my schedule has just been crazy. But most of the time, if I get on video with anybody, it's usually a scheduled podcast. I do podcasts a lot.
Yeah.
Last year, I probably did like 20 to 30 podcasts
Wow.
easy.
Yeah.
So like if a friend asks me to be on their podcast, like I 90% of the time, unless I'm just like super busy, I will
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah.
Just because I want to support other people and I want to help out the way however I can. And I'm a content creator myself, so I just know how important that is. And so I take my time to do that. But as far as like going live with people on Instagram or whatever, not really. Like Chris sometimes will go live
Yeah.
while I'm working, but I don't do any schedules or anything like that because I just don't have that time.
I feel like it would be super clunky too, right? Like it's not like you can focus in on like trying to read all the comments as they're coming in and so I just there's no way that I would do that. It would just be very clunky.
Well, and that's the thing. Like if I was in my, if I had a studio and I wasn't in someone's home, because we're always in somebody's house, like in their bathroom.
Mhm.
Imagine you hired me and Chris, you never met us before. We're in your bathroom and you hear us like talking and like
Everybody, yeah.
10, yeah, like you'd be like listening from the other room, like, what's going on in there? Like we made TikToks in one of our clients' bathrooms, and it was like one of the videos that I made, it was like the sound, the voiceover for it that we had to lip to was man, like I don't want to do this job anymore or something like that. Like I'll quit when you quit. Like that was the voiceover, and we did it in their bathroom and they were literally eating dinner right outside. So it's like Chris and I were like, well, we're really grateful that she knows, like she follows us on social media.
Okay.
Otherwise, she'd be like, what is going on in there? Like, who is that man? Because I don't, like the voice was somebody completely different. It wasn't me or Chris. And so it's just really weird from that point of view, And
Totally, totally.
luckily, a lot of our clients follow us on social, but if they didn't, that's unprofessional. I just,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
I always have that conversation of like because a lot of people know. At the beginning, a lot of people didn't. And you'd be like, hey, I kind of have a thing on the internet. Do you mind if I use? And we won't be specific, but I'll be taking videos and stuff. And people are like, okay. Now it's like when you have that conversation, they kind of lean in. They're like, so are you gonna like make some videos? And they're kind
yeah,
of excited about it.
yeah,
But there's always that like hesitation to ask. At least there used to be, right? Where you're like, because this is kind of weird. Um,
yeah.
until you're like into it, it is this like weird thing that you do when you think about it,
Mhm.
right? Or you're, yeah, I
Like
can
I
rem
was filming today inside of Home Depot,
yeah,
and somebody sent me a message and was like, "Oh, do you like do people give you weird looks?" I'm like, "Well, I'm sure that they do, but I'm at the point where like I'm working, I'm there, like I'm
totally.
busy." Right? Like I'm there doing my own thing. I'm not even paying attention, but I am 100% sure that there's people like
Yeah.
100%. Like there's gotta be. Because they just don't know. They're not in that world. And it's like I'm just going about my life, my business, doing my thing. And so if you think it's weird, that's fine. I don't care. Like
Well,
I'm just
you
gonna keep going.
you got to know that they're going to dinner with somebody going, there was this famous person that I don't recognize, but they
Yeah.
were on video in Home Depot or something. Yeah, I like that. With the
Yeah. Or
podcast,
they're
it's
like, who do they think they are? They're just at
oh
Home Depot. Yeah.
yeah, this is Home Depot,
Mhm.
sir.
Yeah.
you know, yeah, that's awesome. Your content is pretty excellent though. Like I must say, like from a person that watches it, it's I really enjoy it. It's
Thank you.
yeah, you're very, very welcome. Yeah, that's wicked. I was gonna ask you where you're getting your clients from now, but it sounds like it's big stuff. Like it's companies are reaching out, right?
Yeah, we have a long-term partnership with Ladacrete or Ladacrete. They're really like more on like the tile world.
Hmm.
Uh, and then like we've partnered with Home Depot, we've partnered with Lowe's, we've partnered with that company Bona Flooring. Like they create like the cleaning products for wood floors, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
And they also have stuff for tile. But like, and then like we've partnered with Floor and Decor. I don't even know if they're in Canada, but it's kind of like a tile flooring place. I don't know. It's retail, so it's like not really like competing with Home Depot or Lowe's because they're not
Yeah.
selling as many things. It's just really tile, wood floor. They have a couple of like fixtures, and then they have setting materials, a lot of tile stuff. So it's bigger in the tile industry.
That
Um,
that sounds a lot like CSR. Like CSR is like a big taping, but they're very much directed at that. Like they don't have a bunch of other shit there. But if you go there and ask questions, they have guys that take them apart and put them back together. People that
yeah.
know this specific niche really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, like that it really took over for us that way in 2022. Before
nice.
that, anything I was doing, any income I was bringing in for my business was solely customers, like people hiring us. Then in 2022, we still had customers, but we were juggling customers and the brands.
Right.
2023, like, well, we still have customers, but it's going to be significantly less this year. We're going to be very picky and choosy of what jobs we're going to do. Like, we're doing a job tomorrow for a guy. It's because he's a referral of a friend. And so we're helping him out and we're going to do the job, but it's going to be very few in between this year. Our goal is really to get another property and expand into other areas of construction, not just tile, which I don't know. I might change my Instagram name from that tile chick. I don't know yet.
No, don't do it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know. It's a very hard decision, and it's very nerve-wracking but it's really only in my brain, because
Yes.
the problem is that I'm gonna get people, oh, well, I thought like you were a tile setter. Like, technically I am. Tile is the trade that I do. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to paint the walls or remodel this house or
Yeah.
hire somebody to do certain things and like share that on my page. So it's all in my brain. I have to get over that. I mean, I could still be that tile chick and like renovate a whole house and contract work. Like, I don't
Totally. Well, because
see why that's a problem.
it's the brand now, right? And you've done this all before. I'm trying to remember what you were before. Was it like you were in legal, right, or something like that?
I was an accountant.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. And then
I was an
you
accountant
like
for
up and decide, fuck this.
yeah.
And
I
like do
actually, for a while, I fought it, right? Because
yeah.
I always knew that I was meant to do something else. Like, I always did, but I didn't know what that other thing was. It was like, the problem is I'm not meant to sit down at a desk and like, okay, you need to be at work at 8 a.m. and you can't leave until 5, and you could take your 30-minute lunch between this time. Like, it does not coincide with my personality. Like, I'll work 24/7 if I have to work towards something that I have to get done,
Same.
or, whatever. Or if like I can't work that many hours that day because I have 100 other things I need to do, I need that freedom to be able to do that. And starting my own business was the way to go. And it just turns out that I really like to do stuff, right?
Totally.
I just like to do stuff. It doesn't mean that I don't like the business aspect of things, but I don't like it as much as physically doing stuff, the rewarding doing it. Like, it's just, it's so different. Like, I can't explain it because it's so hard to explain, but
It,
yeah.
when
I
I
just,
when I took on that contract work, it's like it's a like a six-figure salary. I don't need to do anything else. And I did that and was like, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on this. And that lasted for about a month. And I was like, okay, I'm not building anything. I'm not like hustling. You know what I mean? And I dove right back into it. But that kind of gives you that freedom to pick and choose. It sounds like that's where you're really getting into this year with your clientele, which is like it when you're saying being choosy, right? It's some I'm sure there's like a negative connotation that comes with that, but it absolutely isn't. It's like, let's find an absolute win that I'm going to have fun doing. Because
mhm.
that's kind of, I think for a lot of us anyways, that's why we all started, because this is fun. You like everything sucks every once in a while.
Oh yeah,
My
every day something just sucks.
yeah, my cousin says create your own suck.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, like, but that's just the way that it goes. But I'm absolutely not built for a desk. I'm not, and I'm very good at running sites. It's a dance is the way that I think about it, right? It's a choreographed dance of trades, and you understand the flow of it all and this and that. But when you're not picking up the tools and you're not creating things, you're not walking away from something going, I built that, or
Mhm.
this is perfect and I made sure it's perfect. Like
Yeah.
it's I don't think I'll ever be able to not do that.
No, I agree. I
It's
agree. It's just a whole different,
yeah,
I don't know, it's like a whole different mentality that some people, either you have it or you just don't have it. Because some days they just really suck. You have a plan for something, right? You go in and you're like, oh, I got this all planned out. Should be easy. Those are like the final last words, you know? And like, It's always like me and Chris looking at each other. We're like, are we fucking dumb? Like, are we dumb right now? Like, what is the problem? Why is this taking so long? Why is this happening? And that just always, it just always happens. Every single job
Yeah.
always happens to us. But it's the way it is. It's just the struggle of it, you know? But one thing that I do realize is that when I left being an accountant in 2020,
Yeah.
was it 2020? Yeah. 2020.
Oof.
Yeah, like I really can't believe it's been that long already. But when I left and I went into just working full time in a trade, from where I was, like, I've always been the type of person that, like, oh, okay, we're gonna lay flooring. I'm just gonna pick up the tool. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cut it. Like, never thinking twice about anything. Just gonna do it. I don't really give a damn. You know, like that was my mentality always, my whole life. So, I was like, oh, this is gonna be no big deal. I can do this. You know, I can read tape measure. I'm good with tools. I got this. You know, I'm creative. No problem. When I first started and Chris let me just like take the reins of things,
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap, I'm so done. Like, this is so incredibly difficult, right? Like, because you start planning and you're like, well, wait, this affects this and this affects that. And, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, you know, you can get very overwhelmed really quickly. Tile is a finished trade, but it's also like it's labor intensive. Like, anything you do affects the next thing, like from framing all the way to the way you're cutting the tiles. They all affect each other. So like, you need to know where your tiles are going to lay before you even put anything on the walls. And that framing needs to be plumb, needs to be square. Otherwise, your tile is going to look like absolute garbage. So like, that was the stuff that just threw me for the loop in the beginning. And now, like, I know every single job, it's like, wow, you realize how much skill you've acquired over just such a short period of time of dealing with certain problems, that each time you're like, damn, like, you know, I'm really gained like so much skill, where you can like do something that in the beginning might have taken you, I don't know, an hour. Now it takes you 15 minutes because like you've dealt with that like over and over and over again. And you know, oh, got to do this or got to do that. And it just gets quicker, gets easier, and it just becomes more rewarding. But the problems, like, because you could take on more challenging jobs and do more challenging things, then your problems, you know,
Yep.
it's just like an ever growing ladder that you're just climbing up.
The interesting thing about the stuff that you do, like with the tile and like the when you're building showers and stuff, you hit it right on the head, where you've got all the behind the scenes stuff, drains and framing and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when you walk away, the finish you've also done, right? Like a lot of trades, like, you know, carpentry and framing and that kind of stuff, even drywall for that matter, that's all behind the scenes stuff to me, right? At the end of the day, a finished person will come in and make that look good.
Yeah.
With the stuff that you do, it's the whole deal.
Everything.
Yeah. So it's yeah, like even tile placement, right? Like, how are we gonna put this here, and what are our spacings gonna be? And that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. Where was that enormous tile? It looked like it was 10 feet tall and 8 feet wide. Like, what was that all about?
Oh, okay. So before I get into that, touching on what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Chris and I won't even do a job if like a builder, for example, is like, oh, well, I have this house, it's got 4 bathrooms. Can you come tile it? Like, and we knew that their drywallers prepped it, or whoever threw up some, you know, cement board. We're like, we're not touching that. Like, your plumber probably put the drain in all cockeyed, crooked, off center. Like, you're, you know, we're sorry, like, we need to prep the shower or we're not doing it. Like,
you're a front to back. Yeah,
because I'm not going to go in there and have you expect me. This is usually the builders. They're going to be like, oh, well, it's all prep ready to go. Bullshit. So they're going to expect just the labor for tile install, but I'm going to have to go in there because the walls aren't going to be plumbed. The walls aren't going to be square. Shit ain't going to be waterproof. It's going to be all messed up. The drain ain't going to be center. It's like, they're going to want me to give them this cheapy price, but they're going to want me to come in and slap lipstick on a pig. And it's like, not doing 100%. It. You know, like, that's just not my brand. It's not what I do. You can hire whoever. And
Lots of people to do that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's just
not going to be me.
not
And
me. Yeah.
I get that request all the time. And in the beginning, because I'm one of these people who's like a people pleaser.
Same. That was the hardest thing to get over.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I just don't work with builders. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you guys, you know, if you have, you know, whatever, it's just not what I do. So if you have a client that's requesting custom work, I'm your girl. But if not, you're not going to like my price. Like, that's what I say straight up. Some of them still want to know what my price is, and I give it to them. And sometimes I don't even get a response. So, like,
Good.
it is what it is.
Good.
That's just how I roll. But those big tiles, that was actually a training put on by the NTCA, so the National Tile Contractors Association,
Okay.
which I'm a member of. And basically, they put on this training. They put on all sorts of training all over the place, and it was for large porcelain, well, gauge porcelain panels. So it's like super thin material, super big. You can use it for countertops. You can use it for wall coverings. You can use it for flooring and commercial and residential if your house is big enough. But that specific tile was 10 foot by 5 foot.
Okay. So it's pretty close. Yeah.
Very big. That when that thing starts moving, it's like,
Well, it's
yeah.
coming if it's falling. Yeah. Like it.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh yeah, 100%. But in truth, that tile with thin set on the back was about like 250 pounds, which that's light. That's pretty
Yeah.
light
Well,
because
I
the
guess for
material
that
is so
size.
thin. It's so thin. So, but it has, if you don't move it properly and like, you know, you mess up one little thing, you can like twist it and crack it and the whole thing. That's when it becomes dangerous. Because
That
if
was.
that thing has a fissure in it and it
Yeah.
cracks and it starts going, it could slice you, you know, because it's thin, it's porcelain,
Yeah.
forget it. That's the scary part about it. But so is a training, and they just like teach you the industry standards for putting down a large tile like that, what the prep is involved, like how you should trowel your thin set, what type of thin set you should be using, the process, etc., because they're becoming increasingly more popular. Like,
Mhm.
I like working with large format. I don't think that I would work with something that big. Like, the biggest I've ever worked with was like 24 by 48, which is the size of me, essentially. And
Pretty much. Yeah.
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty big. Um, they're heavy, they're hard to maneuver. But I think that, like, I'm not going to work in a commercial space. It's just, that's not my thing. So I don't know if it's going to ever be something we're going to do. Who knows though? Like, maybe somebody is like, oh, I want you to tile my 10-foot ceiling with these
Exactly.
large panels, and we just have to put two up, you know, who knows? I never
I,
want to say never, but
I feel like it's always fun, especially in this industry where even if you're not going to use it, can you do it?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
no, it's
at the end
definitely
of the
good to
day,
know.
the answer is yes.
Mhm.
You know, the neat part about that is, you know, like I got very good at level fiving stuff this year, and it is not my favorite thing to do. And I'm not jumping in line to start doing that more and more. And you know, like I do a lot of structural stuff. When, you know, if an engineer gives me drawings, I can build anything, but it's not my favorite thing to do, but I can do it. Right.
Yeah,
And that's, I don't know if it's because I want to check the boxes or if it's that it's new and exciting and that kind of like turns the crank a little bit or whatever. But yeah, it's always fun to get that kind of content in too, right? Like especially when people are like you said, the tile chick, right?
yeah,
If there's 10 foot by 8 5 foot tiles out there, why aren't you playing with them, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
I'll try just about anything, like anything. You know, my favorite is to do bathrooms. Like, I like to build bathrooms. It's
Hmm.
extremely challenging. There's a lot of pieces in a small room. Um, and all different tiles come with all different challenges, and then obviously the design, and then like you bring something that's nothing into something, you know, and you
Oh,
have the ability to literally finish out the entire room. So that's what I like about it, and I like doing that. But I don't like certain material. You know, I'm not like a big fan of the panels, or, you know, I'm not a big fan of like penny tiles, for example, or like the river rock tiles. I hate them. Will I do it if a customer wants it? Yes. Will I try to talk them out of it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you sure you want this?
Yeah. I'm like, this is what it looks like finished. Are you absolutely sure? So yeah, I get it 100%. And by the way, do they have like, okay, because in Texas, wall texture is like a big deal. Everybody's got
Okay.
texture. But where I'm originally from, New Jersey, it's like everything's level 5, everything's flat, everything's
Yeah.
smooth. So like, is that how it is there? Do you like, or is it
It's,
50-50?
you know, wall textures, we don't get a lot of it. I don't get a lot of it. There is around. My uncle redid his house. They have this like kitchen area, dining room, and then a big step down into a family room. They tore all of it out and they leveled it all off. And he's
Okay.
got textured walls and ceiling and and it looks fantastic. But you really have to have that vision that we're going to open up this area, texture everything.
Yeah.
It's all white. Like you really kind of have to sit there and look at it and go, holy shit, this is all textured. I actually did that over Christmas. But I think it really comes to whoever's designing it.
Yeah.
There is no yes or no about it. It's not a huge thing though. Fresco Harmonies come to Canada like a week ago, and that is effectively all the walls are textured, but it doesn't get sanded. So it kind of has peaks and valleys, and it's almost like art. So I'm seeing that more and more now. But like down in Albuquerque, where Nick's from, and like fucking everything is textured. And it's all bullnose. Like so it's bullnose is like a rounded corner bead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's like Texas a lot too.
yeah, so I think I think it's more down there, to be honest. But you know, up until 3 or 4 months ago, I didn't even know that this product existed. So yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing it. I'm foreseeing it in the future a little bit more up here. And I don't know if it's because it's new and cool or if it's that people just want it more. I think there's this new tidal wave of designers out there that aren't looking to make everything beige. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So like feature walls and the contract work that I do, the majority of it comes from a large design group, and they
Yeah.
like to do a little bit more nichey stuff. So I am seeing more and more of it, and the head kind of designer that we're dealing with is like our age.
Okay.
So it's I think it's coming. I think the people that are like this works and don't change it, they're all retiring now, so we can, you know, make things blue or whatever.
Yeah. 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 Cool.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
think
always
so.
wondered that. I always wondered how it was like everywhere else, because I've never, again, I'm from the East Coast, everything's flat. And the only time I ever saw texture on the wall was when I went to my grandma's like house that was built in like the 1900s,
Yeah,
and it was
okay.
plaster.
Yeah,
So when I came to Texas, and I was like, why does everybody like this weird stuff all over the walls?
yeah.
It was a little bit of an adjustment. And me and Chris, like trying to, if we had to patch something, trying
Oh,
to match the texture.
good luck. Yeah, you gotta go this far out from everything.
It
to,
was, no, it was bad. Like, it was bad. I wish I can like take you and show you to the, oh my God, in our bedroom was the first spot we ever did. And like, we tried to match the texture and you could totally see. So like now it's like, we obviously learned a little bit since then. We have the proper tools to do everything, and we can fix it. But boy, the beginning,
what a nightmare, eh? Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I think that's with everything a little bit. When I think back to some of the first things that I ever did, it's like, wow, I can't believe somebody looked at that and were like, "This is great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much." And you're like, yeah, I do this all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh my gosh.
when I got started, it was just like side work. I just wanted to learn more, I think is what it was, and I was going, get your materials, and we'll double that. and
Mhm.
I'll install it for that. But like sometimes it like a box of mud's like $20. So, but to apply it to a wall and then sand it and apply it again, like that's like 3 days worth of shit. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for $20,
yeah.
but that was how I got. You know, if
It like
somebody's paying you that minimal and you're fucking things up, as long as you're fixing it, they don't care.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. My 20s was an interesting time.
Hey, at least you got out there and you did something, right? Like you learned a skill. And
I
at
said
least even if you only made $20, you still made something, right? Someone was still paying you and you were learning. I mean, because it's not like you can go to school nowadays and just be like, I want to learn how to do this. Like it takes to be in construction, it just takes the school of hard
hard
knocks.
knocks.
Just
Yeah,
go and do it. And you're gonna mess up and you're gonna hate your life. But once you figure it out, you're like, I could do that. And it's
right.
great. It's the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah, it's like walking away from like a street fight that kicked your ass. So you're like, but I know how to do this now, and that might have
Yeah.
been worth it, right? And then the next time you go to do it, you're like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can actually do
absolutely.
this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay,
Mhm.
well, let's take a break. That's pretty good time for it.
Okay.
And we'll be right back.